Welcome to Dandelion Dreams podcast. My name is Julia Mason. I do this podcast every other week. If it's your first time watching, welcome. I'm glad you're here, and if you are a return viewer, thank you very much for your continued viewership and support. So, like I said, my name is Julia Mason. My husband and I live in Oregon, and we raise polypay sheep and for lamb and wool, and we have two little girls, and we raise border collies. So that's the overall recap in case you are new. So I am going to talk about knitting first this week because I don't have as much like really pressing personal stuff that I really want to talk about, so I'll just save that for the end. So I'm jumping into knitting today, and I will start with finished objects because this is what you guys have seen before. For starters, so I have this already packaged, except for this is all inaccurate. I need to cover that all up and put the correct address on there. But this is a gift from my really good friend, and if you're watching, Sarah, just skip ahead. But the yarn is Knitting Fever Painted Desert, and I really enjoyed working with this yarn. I would love to... Oh, hi, Wash! I feel so loved. He was sleeping on the couch downstairs, and he has been sleeping there like all afternoon with me, and now he came all the way upstairs to be with me. It's so sweet, you guys. He's like a new kitty since I got him neutered. He loved me again. Oh, you're so cute. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. I'm so glad I got him neutered. He's like way nicer. He follows me around the house and jumps up on like the counters and the garbage can and like anywhere up higher so that I'll pet him and love on him. Hey buddy, I totally thought he wasn't gonna make an appearance today. Anyways, ridiculous, sorry. Knitting, this yarn is so nice. I love it. So it was quite soft and fun to work with and really stretchy and springy, and now that I've washed it and blocked it once, it's even more soft. It's not soft in like the super fine merino kind of way, like it's not like rabbit hair soft, it's like mohair soft almost. I don't know, it's different. It's like thicker fibers but silky. Anyways, I really enjoyed working with it, and I would love to knit with it some more. Come here, buddy. Oh, you're so cute. You guys, I have an unhealthy obsession with my cat. Hi, buddy. You're so nice. Anyways, I will try this on for you guys. This is my Stormy Sky shawl, as you know, and I think it's Cascade yarns, but anyways, this is the finished object. I think this took me, wow, it's a lot bigger now that I blocked it. I just folded it up and put it in the package and haven't really looked at it. So this is the Close to You shawl, and it's the first time I've done a picot bind off, and that was fun. It would look a lot nicer if I had blocking mats and pins and was able to really properly block it. I just laid it out on a towel, and it's, oh my gosh, my cat, who I am like love, he's horrible, he like snagged it all up overnight, and I had to like very delicately pull each ply of the yarn back into place and like fix it, and it looks perfectly fine now, but he made it really bad overnight one time. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is what it will look like being worn, and or whatever, something like this, something to this effect. And I don't know, it just kind of reminds me of like dragon scales or something. It's kind of a fun whimsical pattern and color. It was super simple and easy and really an enjoyable knit because it was very mindless and nice. The yarn was a joy to work with, and yeah, so and it's a free pattern, so you guys are welcome to go look at all these details, but it's basically a ton of garter stitch, so just plain knitting, and then like every 5 or 6 rows, I can't remember, I think it's like 6 rows, 7, I don't know, you do this detail. So that's very minimal amount of actually having to pay attention. And I don't think that there are any mistakes that I've noticed. I feel like my brain is finally recovering from having kids, which Daisy is still less than a year old, so that's pretty good. But for like the whole first part of the podcast, when I would share, I would be like, oh, so I did this dumb thing, and I did this really ditzy thing, and that's been happening a little bit less, I feel like. So anyways, this is cute. It's not as soft as the merino, but like to the hand, it's very weirdly soft. But yeah, I'm going to fold it back up so that I don't ruin its nice smoothness, and put it back in the package, because now that I have recorded it, I can mail it. I actually did finish it before my friend's birthday, but I mean, obviously that's not going to get to her in time because she's in Germany. So, yeah. So there's that. Very pleased with that. That was a very relaxing, nice, mindless knit. But yeah, with just enough interest, and I really liked the yarn. So the next thing that I worked on was I cast on the Pine Forest baby blanket for another friend who I really don't think watches, so that's cool. That I won't have to worry about her seeing it. I actually bought these skeins of yarn. I bought 3 of them. They're only 50 grams a piece, so I really don't know if I'll have enough yarn for the blanket fully. If I don't, I will bite the bullet and order another skein, but I'm hoping that it's enough. It's really stretchy, the pattern is, so I'm thinking I can block it out and it'll be a really lightweight, soft wool blanket. So, and somebody was kind enough to mention that, like, for babies, acrylic is actually not as safe because of the fire hazard, so that's good to know. But I mean, I've really fallen in love with wool anyways, so yeah. So the wool, this is the wool that I've talked about. It's Cloudborne Fibers Super Wash Merino Sport Twist, and it's crazy soft, very, very soft, and it was a very affordable yarn. And it was probably on sale at the time, but I think even still it's not that expensive. So the blanket is right here on my longest cable. I seriously need more cables. I only have like 4 or 5 interchangeable, no, 4 I think interchangeable cables, and one of them is hat sized, and it's just not enough. And then I have a couple that are fixed sets, so the needle doesn't come off, but still not enough. And that's the pattern. So it's a really simple lace pattern. It's a 2-row repeat, and the repeat of the lace is only like 7 stitches, I think. So it's really, really simple and pretty and easy, but it looks really complicated and pretty. So it's pretty much mesh, very lightweight. This would actually make a really, really lovely like scarf wrap cowl thing. Probably more like a shawl if you just changed it to be diagonal. But anyways, it's really nice. I'm liking this pattern. It's yeah. And there's every other row is just purling, and I like purling, so that's cool. Yeah, so it's turning out really nice. I'm almost to the end of my first skein, so that means that this is a third of the way done, and I don't know if that's going to be big enough. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be wider than it is long, but I guess I could block it and kind of stretch it the other direction, but we'll see. Like I said, if it gets to the point where I'm finishing and it's not big enough, I'll just buy another skein of it. But yeah, so I'm happy with how that's turning out. I was going to buy, this is what I was trying to say before. I was going to make like a little jumper and some pants, but I didn't make it to her shower, so then I just didn't feel like there was a whole lot of pressure to get it done because we don't see them very often, and so I don't know how big her baby's going to be now. So I figured a blanket is a pretty easy, like something that they'll be able to use for more than a few months. So I thought that would be a better solution. So yeah, and hopefully, and it will be, her baby was born in the summer, so anything I made it didn't really make a lot of sense for the summertime, but this would actually be a good summertime blanket because it's light, but this will be nice in the winter too. So that is that. I think the colorway, what is the colorway on these? Is, maybe it says on here, maybe not. Oh, it's just, it got a number, 12-012. I feel like it was something weird like dolphin, but anyways, really like the Cloudborne fibers that I've been working with. They're really quite nice for being really affordable. So that's that, and it's in my big cotton stash. The lady who makes them, her company's the Cotton Stash bag. This bag gets a ton of use because it's big. Oh, hi. It is nice and big. Oh, can we love? Oh, look at that boy. What a nice kitty. Oh, you're so cute. Ow! Your back foot is on my back, dude. Okay. So that's that, and then I cast on a Harlow hat for Felicity. I actually originally posted an image on Instagram of these 2 skeins of yarn that I had that I really wanted to make a Harlow hat out of, and was like, what do you guys think? And of course, I mean, it was pretty obvious it would be a cute hat. So those yarns were the leftovers from my Life in the Long Grass yarn that I think it was Jessica Ruth Knits gifted me, which was really sweet. And this is Cloudborne Fibers, just 100% wool. It's not merino wool. I can't remember the name of it. It might have, nope. Anyways, this is not super wash, and it's not overly soft, but it's definitely not rough or anything like that. It's quite nice. And this was incredibly cheap. I think it was $5 for 100 grams of yarn, which is insane. It just doesn't even make sense. So I bought a bunch of these, and I kept pairing them together, but they were all very similar in like depth of color. And so if you were, they just don't have a high contrast, even though they're very different colors. So then it was like all of a sudden, like, duh, I just need to pair them with something else on my stash. And this is like my only light colored thing in my stash. But they go really nicely together. You can't really tell very good on here, but really nice. So I started casting it on one night, and Felicity saw it and was just like, oh, are you making me a hat? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, make it for me. And I'm like super weak and can't say no to her about things like that. And so I'm like, well, how about I pick out a different yarn for you? Because I really like this yarn and I really wanted this for myself, and there's not enough for 2. And so, what are you thinking, Kat? You were gonna fall. Whoa, that was acrobatic. Okay, you missed out. So, anyways, she really just, you know, played on my heartstrings, and I ended up showing her these other Cloudborne fibers that I had because I went crazy one day and bought a bunch of them. And this is one of the other ones that I bought with that purple. So it's the same thing, not super wash, not overly soft, but quite nice. And then I also had bought, the original reason I was on that website was I was buying sock yarns so that I could make everyone in the family socks. This is one of the ones that I picked out for myself, and it is actually less saturated of a color in person, and it's more peachier and orangier than this. I don't know how to, yeah, anyway, it's just not quite that saturated in real life. So I wasn't planning on using this in any project other than just a plain pair of vanilla socks for myself, but then I was like, why don't I just use them, my sock yarns that I have, even though they're, you know, a little bit more expensive or whatever. I'm like, whatever, who cares, I'm just gonna use them like in whatever project sounds more fun to me than plain socks, because I've tried to cast this on like 5 times, and then I need that size of needle for another project, so then I just rip them out, and which I really should just buy a pair of 2.75 millimeter fixed needles, because I use that size constantly and I never seem to have enough cables. But anyways, so finally I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna do a more fun project with this yarn, because otherwise it's not gonna get done. So I paired these and asked Felicity what she thought, and she liked it. So I cast on, well, so initially I had cast on this one, and it ended up, I did the size large for adults, and that was way too big. It was like ridiculous. It was like a bag on my head, and I had only gotten like that far, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna frog that. So then I decided to just do her hat as like a practice, now that I had gotten the hang of casting it on and starting the brioche. And I yeah, so because I knew that the child size was gonna be the right size for her, And so I made this little hat, and I don't know, it took me a few days, and I really like the way it turned out. It's a little bit lumpy, and my tension's not super great because I was just learning how to brioche, but by the end of it I was starting to get the hang of it and learn where I needed to pay special attention to my tension. The thing that annoys me about this hat is that the brioche lines are slanting, and I noticed that in like half of the examples that I saw online, a lot of people's would slant, and you know, some people's wouldn't, and they would be straight and look nice, but I don't understand why. What about knitting in the round? And I have this thing where I knit in the round. I'm sure many people do. It's not as apparent in this, but like right here, where one side of the V is very lined up straight and tight, and then the other side kind of loops out around. I don't know if you can tell what I'm talking about, but this always happens when I knit in the round, and I don't know what causes that. And it doesn't bother me most of the time, but the fact that I can't get this brioche in the round to be vertical, straight lines is annoying to me. So, actually, so this is the children's size, which was a nice groundbreaker, yeah, is that the right word? Icebreaker, for me in brioche. Wow, my hair looks real bad. Needs to be washed. But it actually sort of fits me. It's a little too shallow because I made it for Felicity's head. But it was nice and small so I could get my feet wet. I think I like this side better. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely some issues with tension and things. What is that? I don't know what that was that I was seeing, but it was some sort of mistake. Oh yeah. No? Yeah. Did something weird. I think I purled where I should have knitted here. That's funny. I hadn't noticed that, even though I've like spent much time weaving in the ends and everything. But anyway, with my next ones, I will be more, I'll watch both sides of the work, because I had to actually kind of like open up the work and go down a couple rows and fix things a couple times, because on the reverse side I would make a mistake and not notice it because you can't tell from the front side at all when you made a mistake. So, and then yeah, brioche is not as scary as I was expecting at all. It's really pretty relaxing, and I don't know if maybe knitting it English style is more difficult. I feel like it would be, because you'd have to have like twice as much hand motion, where with continental style it's like it kind of automatically loops itself over, like does the yarn overs kind of on its own, and so it's really like quick. And I mean, it obviously takes a little bit more time because you're kind of having to knit each row twice, but I think I found another mistake. This is ridiculous. And I cast them on originally using metal needles, and it was too slippery for me, so I used these cheapo needles, which I really like for being stitch holders or a spare in case I have too many projects on at once. They were really good for casting it on without it all falling off. So I'm going to, so I made Felicity this one. I'm going to make her Auntie Shay or as Nicholas would say, Sheepa, another pair, or another hat like this, so they will have matching hats. Felicity's stoked about that idea. She loves her Auntie Shay. So that'll be fun. First I'm going to make myself this hat though. So I cast this on last night, and yeah, I just got a little bit done before we went to bed. We've been watching this really interesting Netflix show together, Nicholas and I, called Atypical. It's not super appropriate. It's not horrible, but it's really interesting. It's about an autistic kid, and I recommend it. It's funny, but also like makes you think, and is really good. So yeah, we watched that like all weekend, because actually we watched a lot of TV all weekend because Felicity, Daisy, and Nicholas got sick. So in that order, kind of spread out. So I've been taking care of sickies for a few days, and it's been fine because I didn't get sick. For once in my life, I didn't get sick. I'm amazed. I'm really, really thankful that I didn't get antibiotics for my sinus infection, because I feel like had I, that my immune system would be back down, because I've taken antibiotics so many times in the last few years that I just feel like I would never make progress. So I'm hoping that I'm digging myself out of this poor immunity hole that I've been in. But anyway, so, oh, Felicity's turning the radio on. She's in the room right behind me, watching a movie, sitting in bed, because I told her that I needed to record my podcast and she could have quiet time and watch Spirit or whatever. So that's what she's doing, and Daisy's napping. So this is the reverse side, which also looks really nice. So I'm happy with that. And it's really a fun pattern. Very simple. Definitely worth the price, because I'm going to be making a bunch of them. I mean, it's always, I mean, knitting patterns are worth the price. People work really hard to put them out there. So, yeah, I like it. The last thing I'm going to show you just real quick is an old project that I'm going to pick up again. And this is the yarn that initially got me down the rabbit hole of buying Cloudborne fibers that one day. And this is their sock yarn, and I think it's called Hand Paints or something like that. Might not say, probably doesn't. Twisted Hand Paints, or yeah, Highland Superwash Sock Twist Hand Paints. Spring Flowers, that's the name of it. So yeah, I love this yarn. It's really pretty. I made these tube socks for Felicity a while ago, and then it got to be summertime, so she had no reason to wear them. But now that she's grown a little bit, I really think they need to heal, and when she grows out of them, I'll just pass them on to Daisy. It's not the end of the world. So I think I'll knit her I'll put a heel in these and weigh them and see if I have enough yarn in the little leftover to make her maybe a pair of footy socks or something. I'm not sure. But we'll see. I'll have to weigh it and see how much yarn I have. But I would like to make her another pair, and then once it's winter they can actually wear them. Alrighty, so that's my knitting stuff. It always goes by so fast. Yeah, and I don't know where this bag is from, but it's really pretty. I really like it. So what has been going on in life? I forgot last time that I podcasted, I hadn't mentioned we had been training our horses for a little while. Maybe I did talk about this. I can't remember. But we were training our horses pretty regularly for a while. And then one evening in the arena, did I talk about this? Feels like I have. Anyways, I don't remember if I talked about it, but I feel like I forgot. I fell off. It was not my horse's fault at all. And, I mean, it was a little bit, but mostly it was my fault. And, like, landed on my face and bent my body over backwards. And just, like, the worst, like, whenever I see, what is that called? America's Funniest Home Videos, and people land face first and their body goes over backwards. I'm like, how does that not break your neck? But apparently it doesn't. I now know from experience that it doesn't break your neck. It wasn't even the most painful thing in the world. It was just very jarring and upsetting. And I got back on and I rode, but I haven't really ridden since then. We've been busy, but then also I feel like I need to take a few steps back and do some more foundation work with her, and I just haven't felt like I have the time. The last time I worked with her, I did her feet, because she really, really needed that done before I could really push her and work her again. So anyways, I've been having like a little bit of a hard time sleeping because I have like a stiff neck and a bunch of stuff's out of whack. So that's been one thing that's been going on. The other thing I mentioned last time was that I was concerned about our goat herd having staph A, and the tests came back and they came back positive, and they do have staph A. So because we aren't going to be moving for another year or so, we're going to take this time to once the goats are weaned and the does all dry up, we will dry treat, which means that since the goat is dry, she's no longer nursing kids, we will catch them and put them in the squeeze chute and tip them over and treat them. We'll use an udder infusion, which I've done this with cows, which we don't tip the cow over, you just handle the cow. A teat infusion is where you take a plastic cannula, which is like a, it's like a needle, but it's plastic and dull and smooth. And you insert it into the udder, and then you can infuse it with whatever treatment you need to do. And we did that with cows, and that was not so bad. It was, you know, not the most fun thing in the world, but it really wasn't that bad. They have a pretty big teat orifice. But when I've had to do it with goats, it's not very fun because the cannula is a little bit too big for their teat orifice, and it can be really not fun. So we will see how that goes. We had success treating one cow with staph A, and she stayed testing negative for the rest of her lactation, and then we dried her off, and she hasn't come back into milk in a really long time. So we haven't been able to test her to see if she is clear now. But if she does, if we decide to keep her over the winter, and if we decide to, or if she is pregnant, then I guess we can find out later if it really worked long term. But so there is potentially some hope, particularly with dry treatment. We did a lactating treatment with her, which is harder to get success because the Staphylococcus aureus feeds off the milk and is protected by the milk, so it's more vulnerable when the animal's dry. So I am hoping that with a dry treatment we will be able to at least eradicate it in some animals. We'll be doing that over the winter. We'll treat all of our sheep and all of our goats. We're just using colloidal silver water and DMSO, which sounds totally hokey, but it worked with one animal, and it's worked for other people. It doesn't always work though. Like if the animal has been infected for too long, it just can't penetrate the tissues deeply enough to get all of the infection out. So we'll see. And if any animals next spring, when everyone lambs and kids, if any animals are still infected, then we'll do a reassessment and decide whether or not we want to cull them or try treating them again, or what we're going to do. Probably if they're infected again next summer, and the dry treatment doesn't work, then the animals that are infected we will probably cull at that point in time. We're also going to try this vaccine for it, but there's really limited success with that, so I don't know if it will really do anything, but it's worth trying. And then the option could be we may take all female offspring next spring and use those animals to replace their dams. What are you're looking really like he has violent intentions. It's the cat again. But anyways, so we might just take those female offspring and use them as replacements, and that would be a really big hit to the farm if we had to take that route. And even then, you're not 100% guaranteed that those animals aren't gonna end up coming up with it. So, ow, ow. So yeah, we'll see. And we'll probably, we'll definitely vaccinate the female offspring next year that we decide to keep, just in case the vaccine will work, even though it's not super effective, but it's cheap insurance or cheap something to try. So that's our plan for now. Like I said, we aren't going to be moving until next year. And on that note, we are like, what is it? 3 days from closing on the property that we're buying, which is crazy and scary and exciting. Yeah, it'll be the first time buying property for either of us, and I feel pretty proud of myself. I've done pretty much all of the negotiating and the calling and working it all out. We hired a lawyer to look over the paperwork, and he said it all looks good. The only thing left to do is like get eyes on the easement and make sure that that's totally good, and I don't really have any concerns about the easement. From what they've explained to me, it all makes perfect sense and I think it's good, but obviously I need to see it before I'm going to like sign the final paperwork. But so far it's all working out, and just like waiting to hear back from the well driller about that. But you know, either way, I mean, yeah, we might not hear back from the well driller before we buy the property, but I feel good about everything. It's all seeming like it's gonna work out. Even if the well is pretty expensive, it's still we're still gonna come out on top, because in this area you just can't buy property for cheaply. Like, it's just really, 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 really intense and expensive around here. So even if it costs us a lot to get the place really going, we're still going to be cheaper than what we would have paid for it. So, yeah, it's just going to be a little bit slow and take a little bit of patience and inconvenience, but I think it'll be worth it in the end. Yeah, we're like considering the possibility of, we talked about buying a yurt to live in. We're going to do more research on what permitting and stuff costs, and yeah, we may end up just living in a fifth wheel temporarily. Those can be had fairly cheaply, and then just building the house instead of doing the yurt. I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, there's a lot still up in the air, but by like next week we should be property owners, which is crazy because when I started this podcast I talked about like when we buy our farm way off in the future, years from now, and I didn't expect to be doing this now. So I'm really excited about it and I think it'll be good. But yeah, I really hope to be able to show kind of what's going on the farm some more there, and share about that. I might start a second channel just talking more about like the off-grid stuff and the homesteading stuff, because yeah, I mean, a lot of people say homesteading and they mean, you know, having a few backyard chickens and having a garden, and that's great and that's really cool, but I never thought we would be like homesteading to the point of like buying bare land and building all of the infrastructure ourselves. So I don't know what that creepy sound was. I better go check. It was just Felicity. She's putting on my shoes and clinking around. So anyways, I was like, that sounded like big feet. Yeah, so anyways, I didn't expect to be building everything from scratch and like really homesteading where we're, you know, like really doing. Hey, do you want to say hi? Come say hi. It's my little sickling feral child.
Laying out, cuz.
What am I in here, cuz? Cuz I'm recording my podcast. Oh, look at you. You're so cute. You're so pale. Oh, you want to try on your hat?
I'm trying to kiss.
You're trying to squeeze?
But the table's in my way.
The table's in your way?
Yeah, you didn't say it.
Okay, come here. Up here. Wait, come here.
I went down.
Oh,
I went down the toy back down.
Oh, there's toys back there. Okay, go get those toys.
Those
So,
there's a diaper too.
there's a tiger too, yeah.
There's Grandma Al's toys.
Her little voice is so pathetic and sad because she's got, you know, a cold and everything. Or her cough. Yeah, those are beads, or buttons, I mean. Anyways, things are falling apart. So I guess this is a good place to end. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my account name is @Dandelion Dreams Podcast. On Ravelry, yeah, it is a hat. It's
What are you wearing? Can you put that on? But
Yes.
the bonds too.
Ravelry is
on yourself.
on me. No thanks.
What bonds too?
I don't know, baby. On Ravelry, I'm Dandelion's Dream, and on Facebook it's Dandelion Dreams Knits. So, anyways, before things really fall apart, I will let you go. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.